The most important thing, in my view, that can happen for the preservation of the West and its values is for the U.S. military to be by far the best in the world.
CEO and co-founder.
The founding partner of
Palantir co-founder.
Alex is one of my favorite people. He's one of the most interesting minds I've met in the world. He's a leader in business. He's a philosopher. He's also going to share a lot of his backstory that people haven't heard before in public. You know, it's really exciting to talk to Alex about Palantir. Palantir is unique in that it's 20 years old, but it's doing some of the most important innovative work in the world right now. Some of the new stuff they're doing in AI, you have to check out. It's really extraordinary. Probably the most important AI company in the world. It's very rare to see this kind of innovation from a company that's 20 years in. It's already had such a big impact globally. Really excited for you to get to know our leader and CEO there, Alex Karp. Today I'm with my friend Alex Karp, the co-founder and CEO of Palantir. Alex, thanks for joining us for the show.
Very happy to be here, Joe. We have a long and windy road together, and it's been great to have you part of my life.
Well, let's start with the big picture. You know, Palantir, we talked a lot about different philosophy that you do teach us, and we talked about dialectics. And one of the animating dialectics is, you know, between pessimism and optimism. And what's the best case for an optimistic view for the United States right now?
You know, America produces crazy, outside the norm people that are driven. We're not constrained the way other cultures are by intergenerational risk-taking. So, I mean, it's proverbial, you're allowed to fail here. It's a banality, but it really is true. We push responsibility in all contexts, generally to people who are first-generation achievers. So that is very different than other cultures. Perhaps there's some good and bad facts around that, but we really do reward outside the traditional, the short version would be outside the box, thinking whatever the box means, more than other cultures. We have a deep and very, very successful culture of sophisticated technical accomplishment, especially on the West Coast, born out of universities, but then financed in a way in which there is at least as much alignment as humanly possible between entrepreneur and investor. They're obviously not always complete alignment, and we on the entrepreneurial side, you've been on both sides, but there are obviously issues there. The tech community on the West Coast of America is more important than all other communities combined in the world. That's kind of rolls off the lips easily, but we forget how important that is. We still are a beacon for the most talented people in the world to come here. Our educational institutions, and in our general culture of cooperation, one of the most valuable and least read books, partly because I'm not sure it's in English, is this book by Plesner, who is a philosophical anthropologist, which is a way of saying he was talking about structures that are pre-cultural that impact human behavior. It was about how America allows you to choose the community you're in, but then the rules of that community apply to you. So in Europe, for example, the state decides which church, what synagogue, what mosque is actually real. Like when you start a company here, you start your own culture. And then I think all of these things cascade together. So if you're sitting in any part of the world and you want to do something interesting, your number one choice right now, without a good choice number two, is to come to the U.S. and build it. And I would say on top of everything else, for all the class issues we have in this country, we are very forgiving of successful people. You know, it's in most cultures, success could land you in a very first generational success is very dangerous. And I that's just a limited list. I think America And then, like, if you wanted to do a simple reductionist version of this, you could say, well, why are almost all software products in the enterprise context built in one part of the world? Well, it's very hard to answer the question, but it is true. And if you went to any country besides the US and said, could we have 10% of that? They would do really anything to have it. But it's a mystery how we continue to do this. And so we're so successful at this that we don't even notice it, and then we're very focused on the things we're less successful at, like making our highways and schools and other things run, our healthcare system. We can go back, you can go do a diagnostic on why, and there'd probably be disagreement between us on the why, but it is true that we're just the best in the world at a certain set of things, and we're not the best in the world at others. And we're very focused in America on that, and that obfuscates that without, I had a slight advantage that I spent so much time abroad that when you kind of re-immigrate back to America, you see these things in a more wondrous way than maybe if you're looking at some of the things that really are below the, say, European standard.